We've discovered a new virulence in the powdery mildew population in barley this year in the northern region. We conducted quite an extensive survey back in 2009-2010 and we did not detect virulence on this particular gene in that survey, so we think this is the first recording of it in Australia. And it's a gene that's been used in a number of fairly important varieties. One in particular is Hindmarsh, and I know it's widely grown in Australia these days. Previously we would have said it was moderately resistant, but this year it's been quite susceptible here in Queensland, and we actually discovered this isolate first in trial plots at Narrabri. So it's just a warning that we have a new virulence out there, and some varieties that are in the process of being released carry this gene, and they might be a bit more susceptible than previously detected anywhere in Australia. So yeah, we're still processing this sample. We'll have more information in the near future, and you'll hear about it as soon as we're sure of our facts.
As a part of my research, we conduct virulence surveys on powdery mildew, and as you can see here, we use a large petri dish filled with agar, in which we place leaf segments on the top and infect with powdery mildew spores that we've collected from the field. This is a plate that I've used to culture a particular isolate, and down the bottom you can see the susceptible check and then 4 resistant checks placed around the corners. This year we detected a new virulence on a resistance gene called MLLA, which is currently used in many of the current malting varieties and some of the feed varieties grown in Australia. The variety in the centre is susceptible to this particular MLLA virulent strain. As you can see, the highly easily sporulating colonies of powdery mildew which have overwhelmed the plant's resistance genes. And this is a general indication of a truly susceptible response. Previous to the detection of this isolate, this particular variety would respond with infection types rather similar to the 3 resistant types around the outside. This particular virulence attacks varieties like Commander and Hindmarsh. Now, in terms of their resistance level before to what it would be in this instance with this particular isolate, you'd expect a shift from, say, moderately susceptible to susceptible, or susceptible to very susceptible sort of ranges. So, in terms of the shifts in importance, it's as though we weren't particularly resistant to this type before. You would maybe been spraying for mildew previous to this, so it's just a matter of keeping up your crop surveys and making sure that you're keeping on top of your disease pressures and making sure you're managing your crop effectively.
If you see powdery mildew coming into these varieties, then it's a quick response because mildew increases so rapidly. It is a very fickle pathogen in that it is quite environmentally dependent. It likes nice humid conditions and yet in the cool to mild temperature range. So if it has those conditions, there's likely to be widespread plantings of varieties carrying this gene. Mildew could really expand right across the cropping region, so be prepared. Yeah, powdery mildew is pretty easily controlled with fungicide sprays, and there's a number of fungicides that will control it. I guess my only advice is that early intervention's a lot better than trying to stop the fire once it's well established. We claim that powdery mildew doesn't have a big effect on yield, in the northern region anyway, but it's still worthwhile controlling it with fungicides. The economics would justify it.